Okay, so the next one is about interaction management. So we somehow have users, but maybe we want to restrict users from interacting with each other somehow. So you may want to ask why we want to do that. So you may consider online dating websites as an example. So we all know that if you are running an online dating website, in many cases, once boys and girls join your platforms, well, they may see each other's profile, but if they want to talk to each other, they need to pay you, okay? They probably may try to browse around this website, seeing a lot of beautiful faces, charming words, but before they may really talk to each other, you ask them to pay. Alright? So if you don't limit their interaction, if they may just freely talk with each other, then maybe no one is going to pay you. That's not a good idea. Okay? So that's about restriction. So if you impose a lot of restriction, that's typically to avoid private trading. So avoid them to bypass your platform, to avoid them do some kind of disintermediation. Or you want to collect fees at critical timing, right? So online dating as one example, free to view profiles but costly to send messages. That's one example I just mentioned. Or on C2C marketplace, typically a buyer cannot see a seller's contact information before placing an order. So if you are allowed to contact a seller directly, there is a reason that you bypass this platform, right? You're going to say that, hey, why don't you send your product to me and I'm going to send money to you directly, and the platform is not going to take any money from us. So it makes sense for a C2C marketplace to disallow users to talk to each other before you place an order. Of course, if you have restriction, people may find some ways to bypass your restriction. For C2C marketplace, maybe it's not so difficult. You simply add your contact information somewhere in your product information, somewhere in a photo, all right? That's something you may do. But of course, maybe today's C2C marketplace don't need to do that. Because you as a player, you probably don't want to bypass a platform. Because in that case, no one is going to guarantee that, for example, he is going to pay you, he is going to give you the product, all right? So the marketplace platform typically now is useful enough so that you don't really need to require their contact information, all right? So that's something. Or if you want to give them less restriction, typically that's because you want to encourage them to do interaction. And typically, then you don't want to collect fee from direct interaction. If you encourage them to do interaction, hopefully they're going to use your platform a lot. Then you may earn from advertisements. All right, you may earn from data collection. So the issue, the one idea here is that if there are a lot of interaction, there are going to be a lot of user behavior data that may be collected by you or by using some analytic tools. Once you do that, you're going to, for example, do precise marketing. All right? That means because you know a lot about users, you know they click on this, click on that, you know what they are talking about with each other, you know what they are thinking, you know what they are looking at, and then you or your advertising companies, those guys may do better in imposing advertisements. All right, and that's going to help you collect more money from advertisers. That's a very typical idea. If there are a lot of people using, then there's a lot of traffic, advertisers joins in. And if you are able to do data analytics to better understand your market, your customers, more advertisers pay more. That's one idea. Another idea is that if you have a lot of interaction on your website, you're going to have a lot of behavior data. You know a lot about your consumers, right? Then maybe you're going to have higher bargaining power with respect to some service providers. or you may sell data directly. So one example that you may have been aware of is Patients Like Me. Okay, Patients Like Me is a website having a lot of patients. So for example, all those patients who have diabetes, they may go to Patients Like Me. There is some kind of social networks among all those diabetes patients. You may exchange information, you may talk to each other, you may support each other, and Patients Like Me don't take any cents from you. Why is that? Because then for all the information, all the clicks, all the messages left by these diabetes patients, those data will be organized and after removing the identities, will be aggregated to be sold to pharmaceutical companies. All right? So that's how Patients Like Me generate revenues. If Patients Like Me disallow patients to interact, if Patients Like Me charges money for every message you send, obviously Patients Like Me is not going to generate revenues by selling data because the data would be not so useful. All right, so that's the idea. So let's consider Uber and Airbnb as some examples. So they are similar companies. They are two-sided, right? And they have linking passengers to drivers or travelers to house owners. Somehow they seems to be the same, but their policies are quite different. We know that Uber does allow a passenger to contact a driver before paying for that drive. Okay, so you search on your app and you see that someone is around you, and then you say, okay, I agree with the price, and then you see the phone number, and then you see the car plate numbers. All right, obviously you need a phone number, but Uber is not going to tell you before you pay. Why not? Probably it's because if you know this guy is around you, if you can see that this guy has 5 stars and there are 500 people saying that this is a very good driver, and if you have his cell phone number, you're going to call him and say, hey, I'm at this corner, why don't you come and give me a ride? I'm going to pay you directly, and the Uber is going to get nothing. All right, so that's why somehow Uber is going to disallow you to contact with each other before the transaction is made. Airbnb, quite similar, but they actually allow a traveler to contact house owner before paying for the stay. For example, this is a screenshot from my cell phone. If I go to use Airbnb and I do some search, if I get one house owner that I'm interested in, then I'm going to be able to contact the host. Of course, I may only use the message system on Airbnb, but anyway, we are indeed allowed to talk with each other. Airbnb even tells me that the person typically responds within an hour, which seems to be good, and we may ask them we may discuss these questions, all right? So basically, Airbnb, I won't say it encourages interaction, but at least it does not disallow interaction. Well, why is that? Why Airbnb is not afraid that I'm going to bypass Airbnb and go to contact this owner directly and pay him or her directly? Well, Airbnb knows that it's still possible. But if you are a person and if you are going to go overseas to a stranger's place, you are not so familiar with that country, that region, and you don't know this person, right? You still somehow want to use Airbnb so that you feel more comfortable instead of just going to a stranger's house. If you go to a stranger's house and you bypass Airbnb, for example, you need to deal with that payment issue. Do you pay first or do you live there and then pay afterwards? Either way, there will be one party that feel uncomfortable. All right? So Airbnb must do a lot of things to try to require you to use their platform. But still, they somehow need to give you the contact information. Maybe it's because before you really go to some place to do staying, you need to do a lot of things, right? You need to make sure that this is a nice guy. This guy can answer your questions. This guy is going to help you. This guy is something you want to stay with, and so on and so on and so on. That particular host also need to say something or talk something with this person, right? So as my personal experience again, there was once that I'm going to go to Japan to a conference, and that house owner talked to me and say, "Hey, you are welcome, and my house is good, and it would be nice because it's also very close to subway stations, blah 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 blah." And he also asked me one question before we make a deal. He asked me about, so you say you're a university professor coming for a conference. Would you provide me the website for the conference? I want to see that your name is really on that particular page. Also, please provide me the paper that you are going to present. I cannot read, but I still want to see this is really the true fact. All right? If I'm a university professor, he would be more comfortable to host me. And that all relies on contact before everything happens. All right? So Airbnb is difficult in creating a trust system. That's why direct communication is allowed on Airbnb. All right? So they are somewhat similar, but still they are somewhat different. For Uber, typically you ride Uber in just 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and it's not as dangerous as Airbnb. So that's why the trust issue is very serious on Airbnb. It exists on Uber, but not as serious as in Airbnb. All right? Okay, so here comes a question or a case. We mentioned about there are several reasons to not to impose restriction on user interaction. So let's consider this company Pixie as one example. Pixie is a company providing the so-called link shortening service. So that means if you have a very long website or a very long link or a very long URL, you're going to be able to put it here, and then you click on the button. It's going to make your link shorter so that it's easier to be published, easier to be sent to your friends, easier to be printed on a poster, and so on and so on. So basically, you may use this service for free. Then the issue is why this service is provided for free. How this company may make some money. All right? Of course, you may become premium users. That's going to help you get some more information. You're going to get better service, and you're going to get some. You need to pay some monthly fee. That's one way. And is there any other way? All right. We mentioned about collecting user data, user behavior data to earn some money. Would you try to think for a few minutes about if you are running a website like this, how this website may generate money by collecting user information, by collecting user behavior data? We're going to coming back to this when we are at the discussion session.